Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Hey concert lovers, welcome to another episode of Concerts That Made Us. This one is a bit of a milestone for us. It's our 10th episode, and we've got a couple of special things going on for the occasion. As I'm sure you've probably noticed, we now have a theme song, so I'd love to hear some feedback on it. Get in touch on social media and let me know what you think about it. If you're not following us already, just search for Concerts That Made Us podcast and we'll pop up. But if you're already following us on social media, you've probably seen a very big announcement in the last couple of days. That's right, Concerts That Made Us is now part of the TKOK podcast network. And I'm very grateful for having such an opportunity. You see, my guest on this episode is Uncle Tickles, aka Tommy Pappas from the New Dad Pod. And in this episode he mentions that he's setting up his own podcast network with Kate Flynn from Pot Mom's podcast. And since recording this episode, he very kindly invited me to join. And of course, I gratefully accepted. On the TKOK network, you'll find some great podcasts. There's the New Dad Pod, Pop Mom's Pod, of course, Concerts That Made Us podcast, The Movie Club, and Eat God See Acid. So there's kind of something there for everyone. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest news and maybe get one or two sneak peeks, why not head over to Facebook and join the TKOK Podcast Network group. It's definitely the place to be. Now, as I mentioned, my guest this week is Tommy Pappas, and I think you're going to love some of the stories he has to tell. It's definitely my most entertaining and interesting interview so far. I'm pretty sure you'll agree by the end of the episode that everybody will want to go to a concert with Tommy. So now, without further ado, let's get on with the show. Hi Tommy, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian. I'm excited to talk about concerts today.
No problem, we're excited to have you. So would you like to tell the listeners a bit about your show before we get into it?
Yeah. My name's Tommy. I go by Uncle Tickles. I'm the host of a podcast that is known as New Dad. We talk about, as surprising as it may be, being a dad and a parent. Started about a year ago, right before the pandemic, and I was working in large events like trade shows, conventions.
Okay.
Corona hit. I was doing the podcast before the pandemic, and lost my job as a result. Was able to kind of pour a little bit of time and soul into New Dad, and as a result, we're actually. I'm not sure, Brian, if you had a chance to catch the last episode, but we announced that we're starting a podcast network.
I caught that.
Yeah, so I'm doing that with the host of Pot Mom's podcast, Kate Flynn.
Oh, cool.
And so the network, depending on when this show airs, that all should be out. It's the TKOK Podcast Network, and we're going to be launching two new podcasts. One is called TMC, the Movie Club podcast, and the other is Eat God, See Acid. And it's going to be about psychedelic experiences. So a lot going on.
Exciting.
Yeah, a lot going on.
You're a very busy man.
Yes, sir. And, as you might have been able to infer from the New Dad, I have two sons, as we were talking right before the show started, 2.5 and 1 years old. So, yeah, very much busy and wouldn't have it any other way.
How do you actually get the time to fit so much in with having two kids?
It's this is starting to become more difficult, but I've always had a weird relationship with sleep. That being, I don't sleep much at night.
I'm kind of like that myself.
Yeah, so I was able to do it at night, but the weirdest, and I talk about this a little bit in the show, but one of the weirdest, things I wasn't expecting about being a stay-at-home dad and through the pandemic, I thought, great, I have all this extra time to pour into the podcast. I'm more
Right.
tired now as a stay-at-home dad than I was, working a full-time job and coming
Yeah.
back. So I'm becoming less and less of a night owl. I'm also getting older, so that's part of it too.
Yeah, that kind of happens as you get older.
Exactly. You don't have the same gusto. And no, there's a really good a connection or parallel because as you get older and you don't have that energy, it's harder to keep up with kids. And that goes with concerts. You go to concerts, you may you get older, but not necessarily the crowd doesn't always age with you. So
Yeah.
sometimes you feel like the old guy at the concert. And we're going to talk about a little bit about that today.
Yeah, I've started to notice that at the last couple of concerts I was at before the pandemic hit. All right, I was not the oldest, but I was definitely up there in the crowd.
Yeah, genre specific. I'm sure if you're into electronic music, that's going to be probably felt a little bit harder with that
Yeah.
crowd being or skewing younger a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll move on to the music. So how
Yes.
would you define your musical tastes?
Eclectic a little bit. I'm sure that's what everyone likes to say. Everyone thinks
Yeah.
they're eclectic.
Yeah.
I'm 39 years old, so I think I'm very much a product of the time I grew up in. Gangster rap was just blowing up around the time I was a young kid. I gravitated towards that. Growing up very poor, even though I was white, I identified with a lot of the themes that I was hearing and coming from that music. And then grunge music, Nirvana primarily for me.
Yeah.
I know Stone Temple Pilots and Pearl Jam were blowing up as well. I never really got into them. Soundgarden as well, but like Nirvana was it for me. So those were my Tupac and Nirvana were my two big influences as a small kid. And really, like that's starting around 5th grade, 6th grade. And those tastes didn't really change much until I got to college.
Yeah. It's kind of an odd
You get
mixture.
into indie music. Yeah, you start to get into indie music, experiment with a lot of different things in college, including music.
Yeah, exactly. But would you like to tell us what the very first single you bought was, if you'd like to admit it?
Yeah, no, I'm proud to. Well, and here's the thing, I wasn't even aware of singles. That was something. That's how ignorant of music I was as a kid when I went to go buy my first piece of music. Right, the idea that you could buy just a single, I didn't know that. I was going there. It was 1992, and I was actually going to try to buy the Positive K's album for "I Got a Man."
Right.
That was the jam I was going for. My little local record shop didn't have it. So, 5th grade me was just kind of looking for any song that I recognized. And one of the songs I recognized was Nothing But a G Thing. So lucky to me, the dude who worked there was cool enough to sell an explicit, parental advisory album to a 5th grade kid, had no problem selling it. I went home that night, played it while I did my homework, and we got to the D's Nuts skit in that album, which is if you're not familiar with it, go check it out. But it's basically got a dad telling a joke, and he's saying like, my girl asked me, Daddy, if I had nuts on my chest, would those be chestnuts? And he said yes. And it comes down to the thing where it's like, if I had nuts on my chin, would those be chin nuts? And he said, hell no, girl, you'd have a dick in your mouth. And that's when my mom came and snatched the boom, my little boom box off.
Oh.
But that was probably like 7 tracks in. I don't know how many tracks in, but bless her heart, she let me get away with quite a bit in terms of that album before taking it away. That was my first piece of. Can you imagine being a 5th grade kid, in a rural suburb, and you're bringing home the Chronic, and that's your first ever piece of music? I don't know. That's something I kind of wear with a badge of pride. It could have gone really, really horribly differently if I had gotten Positive K, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Well, you were off to a good start anyway.
For sure it was. I felt, at least I feel, using my criteria, that's absolutely off to a great start.
Yeah. So what would be your earliest musical memory?
So I mean, probably my dad getting a CD player. I remember him kind of teaching me how to use a record player because I had messed up one of his records, being a small kid and trying to put it on. So I do remember that kind of lesson, and having a small toy record player, depending on, again, aging myself a little bit, but they used to have these like little Fisher Price toys where you could had a little record, you put the needle on, and had like maybe 1 or 2 nursery. Yeah. So I had one of those. Those are the early memories. The the CD player, the bands I remember: Genesis, Blondie, Sade, Supertramp. A little bit of Led Zeppelin and they Pink Floyd and that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
by the time we were in the 80s, they were kind of past that a little bit.
Yeah, they kind of were. They weren't kind of cool with the younger generation by then.
That's right. No, but my parents playing music around me, I thought was very important. I grew up always enjoying it, and later in life, I think is when that really kind of materialized in like a true obsession with live music.
Yeah.
And I give them a lot of credit for exposing me to a lot of different types of music.
Oh, good. Well, it's important to be exposed to a lot of different type of music when you're young. Build a foundation for great taste.
Absolutely, and I'm no scientist or doctor, but I have read some articles that have linked that to increased brain function and also ability to pick up second languages later in life.
Yeah.
That's the new dad in me, dishing out some of the parenting connections to this. But no, music's one of those things. It's you can knock someone's opinion of it, but if someone's passionate about a music or an artist or a genre or playing music, to me that's a turn on, even if it's Nickelback or whoever you want to insert as your band we like to gang up on and say is horrible.
Yeah. So this will bring us to your very first concert.
I have some good concert stories, and anyone who goes to a good amount of concerts will have, I think, a fair share of these. It's just what happens when you put enough people in the fishbowl, right, and you shake it.
Exactly.
So this one, though, I was 16 years old, and for anyone listening outside of the Midwest of the United States, the largest music festival in the world actually is a music festival called Summerfest, and it's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Right.
It's not that it's that big in terms of like a single day, millions of people go. It's big in terms of over the course, how many people actually attend, because the thing lasts, I think, over a month. It'll start in June and it goes all the way through, past the 4th of July for sure. And every day they have multiple bands. Most of the bands are free too. So, it's this fantastic steal. And, they'll have one headliner each day that you pay a little bit extra, but all of the other bands you're getting in for the price of admission, So, I mentioned I grew up without a lot of money, kind of between Milwaukee and Chicago on the Illinois-Wisconsin border. Yeah. So Milwaukee was just as far from us as Chicago was. So as kids, we would go up and we would check out Summerfest. My first concert was a Summerfest. It was Third Eye Blind, Eve 6. Those were the bands that we were excited to play, but we also saw another band called Cold. Most of us weren't even 16 at the time this was happening. I was actually 15. Some of my other friends were 16. They drove up, and it became this thing where, you took maybe 2 or 3 cars. Yeah. We get up there, we're 16 years old. We had a couple soda pops, had a great time. And I was going to take a ride home with some other friends. I was having a great time. It's my first concert. I've liked music for a really long time, but I've never been to a concert. This is like full blown. I'm like, this is everything I thought it would be. This is the most amazing thing ever. Yeah. 16 adults are giving us booze. Like older chicks are paying us attention. It was just like, just craziness. I'm like, this is going to be the rest of our lives. And I was the guy that probably was I was probably the only one there it was their first concert, right? So if you've ever gone to university and you had that friend who lived a very sheltered life and they get there for that first semester and they just ruin themselves, right? They just go way too hard. Yeah. Because they've never had freedom. They've never experienced anything like that. Was me at my first concert. And so as friends are like, dude, we're going. I'm like, I'm going to stay. I'll catch a ride with this person. Yeah. Long story short, I thought it was pretty clear who I was riding home with. It was very unclear to everyone else. So the concert ends. I can't find any of my friends.
Shit.
Took me probably 15, 20 minutes too long to realize I should book it back to the car. I know where we parked. That's where we should be. I shouldn't be just trying to spot people. I get back to the car. All the cars are gone. I'm 15 years old. I've already told you I'm 39 years old. So what I'm trying to get at, cell phones weren't ubiquitous at this time. Yeah. I didn't have one for sure. No one in the car had one. So what I ended up having to do is bite the bullet, and I had to call I had memorized one of my buddy's home numbers, and I had to call him. My parents it was the 4th of July weekend. They weren't reachable. So I had to call my friend's dad and say, hey, I got left in Milwaukee.
Oh,
so it was
man.
another hour and a half before they even got home and realized that I was still there, right? In the meantime, I'm a 15-year-old kid in Milwaukee by myself. My friend's dad is like, hey, give me a call back, call collect, whatever you have to do. Just keep checking back so I know you're okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Probably on the second check back, he's like, I've talked to the police in Milwaukee. They're going to send an officer down to pick you up so you're not just roaming around. Stay put, and when the officer gets there, I'll meet you at the police station. So, and I should backtrack. I'm doing all these phone calls from a Greyhound bus station because my thought was maybe I can catch a bus home.
Right. Okay.
There might be a chance I can get the last bus out of town. There were no buses going till the next morning. And my fatal mistake was at that point, I was naive enough to not realize that Greyhound bus stations weren't located in the greatest parts of cities.
Yeah, I'm from Ireland, and I even kind of figured that out.
Know that. Yeah. So I was a 15-year-old kid, not even thinking that. So I'm at this Greyhound bus station. I'm starting to get looked at, a little bit like a turkey drumstick, right? It's like a very tasty
fresh meat
morsel that can just be plucked and eaten. Yes, very much so. So when I see a police officer coming, driving down the street, and this after I've spoken with my friend's dad, I'm pretty confident this is my ride. Yeah. Kind of jump out in the street, flag him down, maybe a little too eager. And and this young woman cop, this young Caucasian woman cop gets out. And immediately I felt like there was something a little off by the line of questioning, and I'm a young kid. I'm in this part of the city. I stopped her,
Yeah.
And as time progresses, she proceeds to arrest me for being out past curfew, even though I've explained to her that I've been lost, that my friend has called the police and they send someone there. So this woman takes me, puts me in a cell. I'm in a holding cell. Because of that, it takes so much longer for my friend's dad to actually have the Milwaukee police locate me. He's sitting in a police station. It's probably like, I don't know, 6 a.m. by the time it all gets straightened out. And I get reunited with my friend's dad, and he drives me home. To my friend's dad's credit, I mean, he's a scary man. This dude is a scary guy. He's got a flat top, looks like he'll rip your head off. Right. So the fact that I had to call this guy, and he's the one that's picking me up, there was a lot of anxiety, but in the end, he was even able to laugh about it. It was a pretty great first concert experience. Yeah. The cops there, even at the end, when they heard about it, they started feeling bad for me. They left my cell open. They brought me a couple extra mattresses. They brought me some extra Cokes and some food. So, shout out to the Milwaukee Police Department for at least, once they realized their mistake, they treated me pretty well. So, that's your first concert. I think some people would be like, that's it, fucking, I'm done. I swear off concerts. But no, for me, that was like my gateway drug. I was sold. I wanted it.
It opened your eyes.
For sure. 100%.
Geez, I've heard some bad concert stories now, but I've never heard one that went that way.
Yeah. Just what my first one, and I'm just and the thing is, like, if this happened today, everyone has cell phones. You'd be able to ask any passerby, hey, can I call? You'd probably catch your friends before they even left. It wouldn't even be an issue. But this is just that weird in between time when technology wasn't quite there. Some people had it, some people didn't. Yeah. And this is what happened. This is like, people don't realize when our kids ask us, like, well, what was it like without cell phones or the internet? Like, well, this is, people got left at concerts.
Yeah, exactly.
You slept in a Greyhound station, and your best friend's dad had to come pick you up.
Oh man. And how were your parents when they found out, or did they find out? Or
they didn't. You know why they found out? So funny. They found out only because the city of Milwaukee sent back the $50 they charged me for the curfew ticket.
Right.
So when it came back, my parents were like, "What the fuck is this from the city of Milwaukee?" And they saw it was a refund for a curfew ticket. So I had to come clean at that point. Yeah, that's why I had to come clean.
That's some way to be found out.
Exactly. I know, it's like 50, and you know what? My parents kept the $50, so they're like, that was the punishment. All right, yoink, $50.
I was just about to say you could have just given the 50 and left that at it.
That's how it happened. That's how we squared it up.
So, which song would you like to dedicate to the memory of your first concert? So,
I'm gonna, I picked "Graduate" from Third Eye Blind. This is a tough one, and because of this story, I still have a text thread with my 3 best friends from high school.
Right.
Third Eye Blind is still very much prevalent. We still joke around about, I don't even know if it's a joke at this point. We really do still have a soft spot in our heart for Third Eye Blind. So I picked, so many good songs from the band. But Graduate, because this was the song that helped me graduate to a love of concerts, and it was my first one, my gateway drug. So Graduate, here we go.
Great song choice, by the way.
Thank you, Brian. It's a good energy just jam. It's one of those. It's kind of a pick me up. When it comes in the car, it's hard for me not to just flip it up, put the windows on, even if it's cold. It's a great feel good jam.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
And also from the movie Can't Hardly Wait, I believe, which is an underrated rom-com teen comedy.
I actually haven't seen that one, I don't think.
Really?
Yeah.
Depending if you're around my age, you should probably check it out. It was I think it came out in 2000. It probably has a close spot in my heart just because I graduated. I think the year it came out, it was about high school senior. So I was like, oh, this is my life, and just realizing how corny and generic it was after the fact. But in the moment, you can't see past that.
No, I'll have to check it out. So
yeah.
But so your last concert then?
Oh, so I mean, and again, this is I feel extremely privileged to have this been my last concert. But I went and saw the lead singer of Hop Along. Her name's Frances. I'm blanking on her last name, but the lead singer from Hop Along was the headliner. The surprising and most beautiful part about it was the opener for that show was a band called Indigo de Sueza.
Right.
And they became my favorite band. Right now that I'm listening to in 2020, how Spotify will do those wrap ups. I was in the top 0.05% of Indigo de Sueza fans. I'm going to go on a limb here and say that no one played the album I Love You Mom. I'm not even going to go on a limb. I would almost put my life on the fact that no one listened to that album more last year than I did. Fantastic. I'm a sucker for female fronted bands. I should also probably throw that out there.
Right.
And I think from my recollection of the band, and I wish I knew it was my last concert I was going to see, because now with the pandemic, everything's shut down here. I don't know if you guys have live music yet, but
no, we don't, unfortunately.
No, we don't either. They're getting we're starting to hear whispers about it. So, it's just one of those things. Like I showed up late into Indigo de Sueza set, so I didn't even hear the whole thing. But this is kind of maybe a little bit of a trend in a lot of my concerts. When I hear something I like, and maybe everyone's like this, you don't need to hear an album a couple times. Some albums, they're slow burns, but those artists you end up just really fucking digging into. It's almost like love at first sight to a certain degree, or at first hear or at first sound.
I get you.
Because it was just one of those things. I walked in, I wasn't even, I knew I was excited to see the opener, or not I was excited to see the headliner. Didn't really care about the opener. Going to get a drink and just stopped in my tracks and turned around and was like, who the fuck are these guys? And it was just like that much. It was within a couple notes, like just 3 or 4 notes. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to love this. I'm going to be fucking obsessed with this.
It's very rare, but it's great when it happens.
Exactly. Very rare. You can spend weeks, months, just going through, just burning through albums and not find something like that. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was just one of those things. You walked in and I just fucking knew it. I was like, holy shit. And almost, probably to my wife probably hated it, because the album was on nonstop for a year. Like I fucking played it almost. It was just one of those things. I couldn't get enough of it. And I had a really hard time picking a song from that album, that I Love You Mom, because I would write down the song and I'm like, nope, I got to take this. Well, hold on. No. It's not that one. That one's, this is the one. And then no. So him and Han, and I finally settled on Home Team by Indigo de Sueza. And I'm probably saying that last word wrong. I'm sorry to the band and to the fans if I'm mispronouncing it. But yeah, it was Home Team. This is the one I ended up on, and it's a wonderfully just example of a female-led indie rock group that to me just hits all the checks on the checklist, what I'm looking for.
Perfect. We'll take a listen. So
perfect. Hope you guys all enjoy this one.
That was a great song choice again.
I appreciate that. And again, I really hope the listeners are enjoying these. I know it's probably not the best playlist as far as congruity, of the songs, but I'm hoping that you guys are feeling where I'm coming from.
No, I liked it now. I've never actually heard of that band, but after this, I'll definitely be looking up more of their stuff.
Yeah, that album, I Love You Mom, I think from beginning to end. And talk about how rare it is to walk into somewhere and just fall, know within notes that this is going to be a band you like.
Yeah.
How rare it is these days to turn on an album and there's no filler tracks, right?
Yeah,
Literally from one
exactly.
to the next to the next to the next, you're just like, I really enjoy all these songs. There might be one slow burn on there, but for the most part, I mean, and again, music's subjective. Someone's going to listen to it
True.
and tweet at me and be like, this fucking sucks. Thanks a lot, Uncle Tickles, you piece of shit. I just wasted 40 minutes of my day. But I, for the people who do enjoy it, I hope there's one or two of you.
I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there will be. Have to ask, since you mentioned it again, how did you come up with the name Uncle Tickles? If you don't
Uncle
mind me
Tickles, you know
asking.
what? No, I don't mind. Something we haven't even covered in the show either. It's a weird thing. So for a long time, we didn't have our first kid. As I said, he's 2.5. So I was like 37 when we started having kids. So a little bit later
Right.
in life, had a lot of friends who had kids,
Yeah.
and it was always kind of a surprise to them. I think that it was such a natural thing, and that kids just took to me so well.
Right.
And so it became this thing where, call me Uncle Tommy. It was fine, but it was a little bit boring. I've wanted something. So we were like testing out nicknames, and
Right.
I said it genuinely, not like thinking of the creepy tone of Uncle Tickles.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, I'm like, oh, the kids are I'm fucking making them laugh. What makes kids laugh? Tickles. I'll be Uncle Tickles. And then everyone just laughed at how naive that actually came out, because I was so genuine and sincere when it came out. Like, oh wait, no, like I actually like it more since it has that creepy, like kind of like aftertaste to it. It's like, oh, Uncle
that's
Tickles.
it, exactly.
Yeah, so that actually drew me to it more. I think most people would have been, okay, yeah, maybe I'll be repelled from that name because of that. But no, that's what sold it to me. And it was just a joke that stuck. People heard it and they kind of they loved it, and they're like, well, yeah, we're gonna fucking use this, dude. I'm like, all right. I think it was like a threat, but I'm like, no. I don't think you guys understand. I'm welcoming this. I like it. It might have cost me some viewers too. I did hear back from a couple people that they liked the show but hated the name Uncle Tickles. So
really,
yeah. Oh. It's I can understand that though. It's not. It's kind of a polarizing name.
Yeah. Right. Well, I like it, even with the creepy undertones.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
But
well, sometimes life's a little creepy.
Exactly. You have to take the good with the creepy.
That's right. That's right. Embrace that creepiness, people.
Yep. It sometimes leads to the best experiences, I find.
No doubt. Absolutely. 100%. We're gonna get to when we get to my favorite concert. I think we'll embrace that theme very much so.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.
But first, I don't want to be bringing back any bad memories now, but we need to talk about your worst concert, I'm afraid.
Okay. So, this is this was almost as hard as the question, what was the best concert?
Yeah.
And I really hope that the listeners can relate to this idea, right? Because the best concert and worst concert, there's so many different like subcategories or versions of that, right? So the best as far as the best time I ever had, or the worst as far as this was the worst time I ever had. The best isn't, it was the best sounding, this was the best band, the music wise. As far as, there's also this aspect of like, maybe, and this goes a long way for me, and I think this is kind of a douchey quality, to be totally honest, but I like being able to see someone, really early on in their career, identify someone, be like, okay, I think I really love this person, and then see that person become big, and
see them stadiums grow as an artist.
Yep, and be able to say, I saw them in this tiny fucking venue, right?
Yeah.
And so there's, I have an experience like that, where, so for worse, I'm going to say, I'm getting a little off topic. For worse, one of the concerts I picked was a band called Switchfoot. And it's not really that Switchfoot sucks that bad, or the concert was horrible. What happened was we were there to see Group Love, and the lead singer of Group Love actually had a vocal injury. And because she couldn't really sing, she ended up switching spots. They kind of, had played with the or the lineup a little bit is what I'm trying to say. So they play with the lineup, and Group Love opens, plays like a 15-minute set, and then Switchfoot comes on and plays a full-on, like hour and 45-minute set. I'm not a Switchfoot fan. I didn't even, like we came late. We came pretty late to the show because we didn't care for Switchfoot.
Oh man.
And so then we get there, we completely miss Group Love, and we have to sit through a Switchfoot, like an hour and a half Switchfoot set. So, I mean, it's, again, the sound was fine, and Switchfoot's, even push comes to shove. I actually was thinking about this right before we came on. I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to say the Switchfoot show was worse. I've seen Three Doors Down like 5 times. Not by any choice of my own, but just because of random friends I've been with, or just like circumstance, right? All of those shows musically, harmonically, were worse than the show. But the disappointment of going to see someone you really want to see, like these Three Doors Down shows, I knew I was going to see Three Doors Down, right? I was mentally prepared. I'm going to get fucking blackout drunk, and I'm not going to hear a note of music. With Group Love, I was like, I'm really pumped to see one of my favorite bands, and instead I get a Christian rock band. And it was brutal. It was like the level of disappointment was so palpable, not just by me. And, like, this is when I think, again, a lot of people can probably relate to this. It's one thing to be disappointed for yourself, but when you have friends in my case, it was my wife and another friend who, we were going all together. Their level of disappointment was worse than how disappointed I was. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I can fucking deal with a Switchfoot concert, but I knew they were like, I would rather have a pee hole, like a straw shoved up my pee hole, than have to listen to this.
Oh, so it was, imagine.
I felt bad. So that was one of them. And then, I do have another one. I don't know. Do you want to play the song before we go to the other horrible experience?
We'll take a listen to your song. So which one is it?
I don't even, it's their big single. Maybe How to Save a Life. No, that's Afraid. Meant to Live.
Right.
Switchfoot, Meant to Live.
Perfect. We'll take a listen. So
that's right.
Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of Switchfoot either, but it's you could listen to it.
It's top 40s, right? It's just generic, top 40s rock. Reminds me of like Goo Goo Dolls, although I'd prefer Goo Goo Dolls over Switchfoot any day.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So, we talk about different types of, disappointments, or how a show can be worse. There's another, I did want to talk about this other story because it was just a very helpless, it was a horrible moment. It was a horrible concert going moment. When we go to, we're here in Chicago, Lollapalooza is based out of Chicago. For people that don't know, it's a 3-day festival, right? A lot of big name bands. It's like a Bonnaroo or a Coachella or a Glastonbury or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's really big, lots of people, hard to find each other. What started happening was you started to see, and I'm sure maybe you guys have seen this too, these collapsible tent poles.
Yeah. And
people put flags or something of note on them, right? So you can actually spot your friends and you can find them in a big crowd.
It's a good idea.
So, and I'm not taking credit for this idea. We saw it, we copied it, right? But we started to get really good at making our own, like, elaborate, one year it was this, it was Amanda Bynes, but she was painted as one of those patron saint candles, and it said "Get Rich or Bynes Trying." It actually had lights that flashed, that would, so in the dark you could see it flashing. On the other side, it was a picture of DMX, and it was DMX to see, right? So we wear these outlandish outfits, right? So we could, again, more so for it's fun, but it was also for identifiability. We can see our friends. It was always easy to find each other. Yeah. So one year it was Eminem was playing, and we hadn't even considered the connection between Eminem fans and Juggalo fans and having this bad blood. Right. But I guess it was there. And so we called them Lala Lighthouses, our Lollapalooza Lighthouses. In this year, we were going through a big Juggalo phase. So we had the Insane Clown Posse, and it said, "Don't touch the clowns, let the clowns touch you." Again, we had worked in these lights, and it was like boom, boom, boom. Yeah. It was pretty, again, really proud. We put a lot of work into it. Not only did we put a lot of work into it, but I had to take like a special Uber to get it from my house to the festival because it was so fucking big. So it cost me a lot of money just to get it to the concert.
Yeah.
So we have it. It's a huge hit, right? Everybody's loving it. We get to Eminem. It's the end of the night. He's the headliner. Things are going great. I'm with my wife and a bunch of her girlfriends. A bunch of my buddies go to get beer, and I don't know if they were waiting for the dudes to leave, but we get surrounded, like no joke, surrounded by what I can only describe as the mutants at Table 9. These guys fucking look like I mean hooligans that were dragged from a sewer and exposed to radiation, and and they and they're going through like they think we're hardcore juggalos, and if for anyone that's seen my wife, she's the furthest thing from a juggalo. I love juggalos actually for the most part, but we just don't look the part, right? If you just paid attention, right, he sees like, okay, these guys aren't really juggalos. They just have a picture of the Insane Clown Posse on their sign, but they weren't like, it was not going anywhere, right? And these guys were determined. Like one of them pulls a knife, and it came down to the fact that they wanted to take the sign and destroy it.
Right.
The problem with that is I was happy to give him the sign and let him destroy it. Like I was not about to get stabbed over this fucking sign, right?
Yeah.
The problem was my wife and her friends were real lubed up, and they were not about to let the sign go. They were also not about to be much help in a knife fight.
Yeah.
So it was not really like, the situation was getting really bad really fast. And ended with, and this is kind of fucking crazy too. Like, think about this. So what happens is like, they take the sign, right? And I'm like, okay, whatever. We diffuse the situation. The guys come back. They kind of see like, oh, now it's not just going to be us destroying one dude and a bunch of chicks. One of the dudes had lighter fluid. Like, they take the sign off, and he takes a fucking thing of lighter fluid, and fucking they lit the sign on fire.
Who brings lighter fluid to a concert?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I fucking could have been. I mean, like, 'cause that's one thing. Like, you get doused with lighter fluid and lit on fire, man. Like, I mean, stop, drop, and roll is fine, but like, I don't know, like, how if it really works when you're doused in lighter fluid. So yeah. I mean, and I love Eminem. So this was I think this is an example of. I love Eminem. I love all of his music, especially his earlier stuff. But this concert sucked. Like, I walked away, and in situations like that, you end up second guessing yourself. Even though at the end of the day, I know I did the right thing by giving up that thing. There's a huge part of you. Your pride gets at you. It gnaws at you, right? It's like Pulp Fiction. What is the line? Pride's a motherfucker. Something like
exactly.
That. And so it just, you're like, God, I can't believe I just gave it up like a bitch. It ruined my night. It did ruin my night, and it was a shitty concert, because now that story does get told often, and every time we like, it gets retold, I have to relive that tiny bit of shame, even though I know I did the right thing.
Yeah.
Right,
Sounds like one of them times where for about a month or two you were just reliving it in your head, going, what if I had done this, or I should have done this, or as if it was an action movie.
1,000%. And I'm an overthinker in general in life, so that was something that it did eat at me. It did.
Yeah.
And just so like this really sucks, because an added kind of bummer about that story is, so we were out at La La Lighthouse. We brought the Amanda Bynes one out of retirement the next day, and turns out, and it's probably these fucking mutants that did this. The park took it away, and because some guy was like stabbed with one of these like sticks. Right. So I'm like, God, I wonder if it was our sign that was used to stab after they burned it. But so that got taken away too. So it was like a double slap in the face. A real bummer. But and I there's another story. I mean, I'm not going to go there, but another, and that trumped another story where I had a gun pulled in my face too after.
No way.
So, yeah. Oh yeah. By the dudes I was hanging out with the entire night. And was like giving Gatorades too, because I thought we were at a street festival. The New Deal was playing, and I was real fucked up. They were real fucked up. I was giving them Gatorades. They saw my drugs in my bag, because I was opening my bag. We were smoking weed together. I needed to borrow one of their phones afterwards, and they kind of spun it on like, well, hey, so you don't steal our phone, why don't you let us hold your bag? We don't want you to run off with my buddy's phone. So I was like, fair enough. I'm not going to steal this dude's phone. Not a problem. And then once I handed them the phone or my bag and turned around to make the phone call, by the time I turned around, they had a gun out and asked for my flip-flops and the phone back, and then see you later.
Oh,
but
man.
But that was I still consider the Lotta Lighthouse being destroyed and lit on fire in my face as a worse concert experience than the New Deal.
Yeah, I think it hurts you more.
It does for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just like rubbing a little salt in the wound.
Yeah. So which song have you picked for that one?
Yeah, so for Eminem, I did If I Had. It's off of his first album. I love Eminem, as I said. I like his earlier stuff because I think it's more storytelling than his later stuff is more impressive from like, I guess what I think if you listen to his later stuff, Eminem discovered this almost like algorithm, this lyrical mathematical algorithm for rhyming. And now it's just a game for himself. He's seeing how complex he can make it, which is cool. And it's like, it's really impressive, if you've ever tried to rap or if you listen to rap, right? Because what he's doing lyrically is just unprecedented to a certain degree. But I like his earlier stuff just because I'm more of a fan of good storytelling. So I picked If I Had. It's one of my favorite Eminem songs.
Oh, cool. We'll take a listen. So that was a great song by Eminem.
One of my favorites.
I haven't heard it before. I like Eminem, but I wouldn't be crazy into him. I'd be more so the commercial stuff I would have heard.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I may have like Curtain Call, the album.
Oh yeah,
that's probably it.
No, that first that first album of his. I mean, his first 2-3 albums are good. But I think that's like probably you start talking about one of I've mentioned themes, in my own musical taste and my own musical experience life. One of the themes, like looking at all genres of music, is this idea that an artist's earlier stuff is always better, right? Because the struggling artist has so much more to draw on than the guy.
Yeah.
What kind of art do you create when you have everything, when you have the adoration, you have all the money? It's
exactly.
It's that you have to be a really fucking good artist or a weird person to still create interesting shit after you get all that stuff, right?
True. No one wants to hear about your butler not bringing you your drink on time or something,
Precisely. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and again, that's true in hip hop, that's true in rock, probably even jazz, classical music. You can probably make cases all the way through, pain, struggle, that shit, that makes some of the best art in the world.
Oh, it really does. It really does.
For sure.
So they were two really great worst concert stories. We'll get on to your best concert. So
yeah. And I mentioned, there's different ideas of what best is. So I'm gonna start with, I think, my favorite concert experience story. This is what I consider my favorite.
Okay.
And it was, I actually have brought up a prop. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to. There we go. Can you see that all right?
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Vegas.
So, Vegas 2007. And I'm going to use this opportunity to tell young music listeners. I know that when I was a young music listener, one thing I wasn't doing was buying these posters of the shows I was going to as I was going to them, in large part because I couldn't afford it. I was barely able to afford to go to the concert and have enough to drink. And if it was a poster or drinking, if those were, the two options, I was going to drink,
Of course.
Buy the fucking posters, people. Borrow an extra $25, because what I'm finding now is I'm going back. That poster cost me like over $300. That wasn't even to frame it, right? That was just to get it after the fact. The framing is a whole different beast. That would be the second piece of advice. Become a custom framer if you're going to collect concert posters.
Yeah.
Because it's not cheap, and if you're doing it, you can make a ton of money doing it. So the year's 2007, and to take a small step back, 2007 Lollapalooza, a band called Muse, who you might be familiar with. They're from your neck of the woods.
Yeah, we are.
Yep. They were one of the headliners, and I wasn't familiar with Muse at all. And so I went with some friends and was on a hit of acid at that show, and it fucking blew my mind. It was like vampire rock. My friends were kissing, and I swore to God that they had elevated above the crowd at one point, like vampires, and were just like spinning in the air. It was just, we talk about these moments where you hear a band, you're like, oh, okay, yes, sign me up. No joke. I went home that night and like still a little bit on that acid. And I was just like, when is Muse playing again? When is this band playing again? I want to see them.
Yeah.
and they were just at the end of their US tour. Like they weren't playing any other cities. They're actually this was like in August, and they were going back overseas. Actually, they were maybe going to Australia. Either way, they're leaving the country, right? And so I was like, fuck. But the one saving grace was in October, at the end of October, over Thanksgiving, over Halloween, they were coming back and they were playing this music festival in Vegas.
Oh, cool. Right.
So I bought tickets. I just bought tickets to the show. I bought like a festival ticket. I bought airline tickets. And I just figured like, I'll talk other people into going later. Like I'll figure like all that. And you know what? I was like, I didn't even buy the airline tickets to Vegas. I was like, I'm going to go to LA because in my mind, I'd never done that drive from LA to Vegas. Again, not sure if there are a lot of listeners from outside of the US, but if for people that live in the US, that's kind of an iconic thing to do, is to drive from Los Angeles to Las Vegas.
Okay.
It's just, you see it in a lot of movies. It's just this thing. So I was like dead set. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to go to Los Angeles. I'm going to drive to Las Vegas and I'm going to go to this concert. I'm going to talk people into it. And so I did. I talked this ragtag people like I didn't even know these people that well, but I talked them into going to this concert with me, right? And in fact, three of the 4 people that went, I hadn't even met before. I knew them online through friends of friends.
Right.
And I just was like, okay, you live in LA? Yeah, you should go. I'm going to fly into LA. I'm going to drive to Vegas. We should do this. Okay. And Rage Against the Machine's playing, Daft Punk's playing, Queens of the Stone Age, Iggy Pop,
oh man, that
Wu-Tang
sounds amazing.
Clan. I'm trying to think who else is on here. Humphreys McGee, Michael Franti, Spearhead, Muse, as I said earlier, The Shins, Robert Randolph and the Family Band, Mastodon, Atmosphere. I mean, I'm just going through. These aren't even Go-Go Bordello, Battles, Pharaoh Monch, Ghostland Observatory, all bands I like. So I thought I was actually going to get way more people, but anyway, so I fly into LA, meet this couple for the very first time. They end up being now lifelong friends. We've traveled to Greece together with my wife, and he's been on the podcast. The husband's been on the podcast. I stay with them, meet another one of their friends who I'd never met, and one of my buddy's girlfriends who I actually went to college with. And the 4 of us drive out to LA, and we do the drive. It's like as epic as you would think. Our drive starts off with in LA traffic, looking over, we're getting onto an on-ramp, and there's a woman who's I'm no joke, swear, hand to God, asleep. She's asleep in her car, and her car's drifting across lanes of traffic.
Jesus.
She hits a wall. You see her wake up and then just take it off the exit. And we were like, I mean, it was just one of these things where like, did we just see that?
Yeah.
That's how the trip starts. The whole thing is just fucking clown shoes. The whole trip. It would be really hard to concisely tell it without. I mean, we could do a whole episode on just literally this story. But so the first day of the show, we're getting ready. We go to we're in Las Vegas. We go to one of these buffets, these like famous Vegas buffets where the booze is like free, right? Like they give away the booze. So you're just good. Like, so we were playing a game where we'd leave like the littlest bit in our glass, and we wouldn't let them take the glass. We just wanted to see how many tables we could fill with glasses for pictures. And just as, I don't know why we thought it was funny. Having worked in the service industry, it sounds like a really dickhead thing. Someone's going to have to now have they have 80 glasses.
Yeah.
And it backfired because we got cut off because someone was like, yo, have they drank all those drinks at that table? Like, yeah, they're like, cut them off. So we actually get to where the concert's being held. It's a little bit outside of Las Vegas. And it's over Halloween, like I said. So we're all in costume, right? I'm dressed as a priest. My friend's dressed as one of the guys is a gladiator. My friend from college, she's dressed as a slutty pirate. Right. And I can't remember what the other 2 were dressed as. But at that point, I'm starting to notice that the gentleman that I stayed with, the people who are from LA, he's really fucking drunk. Like he's really, really drunk. Okay. I'm like, I don't know if he's looking too good. And there's a lot of attention on him as we get out of the cab and we're getting into the concert. And we get into the concert, and I realize that I don't have my acid. It's not. I go to look, and the security was nice enough because they saw us they saw that our friend was intoxicated, and they actually still let us all in, but they let me go back out. And two little. I mean, for anyone who's done it, there's little squares of paper, right? These 2 little squares, right, in a giant parking lot. That and I found them so miraculous that I find them. By the time I found them and get back, which didn't take me really that long, our buddy, is now past. He's in the crucifix formation on the ground, and he's just like puking out of the side of his mouth.
Oh man.
And this is before they like not a single band has even played a lick of music, right?
Right.
So his wife is like, well, I've never really seen him like this, so I'm gonna take him home.
Okay.
So they go home. The couple goes home. He doesn't hear a lick of music. He's so hungover the next day. They don't go to the festival. They actually drove all the way to Vegas and didn't even go to one day of the festival.
Oh, Jesus.
He also, when he wakes up after this experience, after being so fucked up, he was so drunk that he had hallucinated that we were on a Jurassic. He woke up like irate, like actually furious, ready to fight me because he had hallucinated that we were on this Jurassic Park roller coaster,
Right.
and I had found a ride to get off the roller coaster. He wasn't even on acid, people. He was just drinking champagne. He wasn't even on drugs. He wasn't on drugs. I should make that point clear. He hallucinated that I had gotten off the roller coaster, was riding the mechanical dinosaurs, and I wouldn't tell him how to get on the mechanical dinosaur. So he was all mad about this, not realizing what had actually happened. So, so that this is just the start of that day. It's so outrageous. I end up taking the 2 hits of acid, and we're just kind of we're walking around, we're checking out all the bands, and it's a big festival. I'm on acid. The other 2 people aren't, and throughout that course we got separated, and that's and so I'm trying to find them. It's really fucking hot out. I'm in this really long priest garment outfit, and I see to me it was like my recollection of it, obviously which is a little bit biased, but it's almost like a shining light, like almost like an act of God. I'm like, I see this chapel, and I see these big air conditioning fan type things, and I see places to sit. So I'm like, I'm gonna go hang out here. I'm gonna go fucking sit down and chill. And so that's what I do. And I sit there, and it was fucking awesome, dude. They had I know that I was at this really awesome music festival where they have real musicians playing everywhere.
Yeah.
But they had all these impersonators. So like Willie Nelson, Michael Jackson, Ozzy Osbourne, and people are having these like art, and these guys are fucking killing it. Like right before the wedding, they're singing a song as these couples are getting on.
Yeah.
The priest that they had was so over the top, and like just awesome. Funny dude. I was just like into it. I was sitting there, and I'm tripping my balls off, and I'm fucking like, people are in love. They're excited. They're getting married. I was fucking in, dude. I was like, I probably sat there for like 2.5 hours. Forgot that I was like supposed to be finding my friends, just enjoying this moment. I was just really into it. So into it, in fact, that at some point they were like, yo, we have to cut this off. So, and the priest is explaining, like, don't worry. Like if you were next to get married, you're going to be first tomorrow, yada, yada, yada. We're going to get through everyone. This is going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, oh, you can hear people mumbling in the pews, and they're all, and, they start playing a Willie Nelson song. It's like, the Willie Nelson guy's up there, he's rocking. And I'm just like, by myself. I'm like, no, fucking no, this is not ending. There's no way this is going to end. Like, I can't do this. And not even thinking about the fact that I'm wearing a priest outfit. Like, that wasn't even on my mind. I just walk up on, like, I was just by myself. I just walk up there, and maybe because I was wearing the priest outfit, like security didn't do shit, and the microphone was still hot, and I said, nobody's going anywhere. Everyone's getting married tonight, and Willie Nelson looks confused as fuck, and like security looks confused as fuck. Clown shoe priest now peeks around the corner. He's like, what is going on? And I just like I'm like getting the couple who was like sitting there, because there was some confusion. This couple's like, well, were we gonna get married? No, we are. No. I'm like, fucking come on, you're getting married. Come on, Willie hit it. And Willie's looking around. He's like, and so he starts playing You're Always on My Mind. Yeah. And I, as part of my prop, I had a Bible with me. And I just started reading from the Bible and just like freestyling, like right off the dome. I'd been sitting there listening to this priest for 2 hours, right? So I had his script down like kind of good.
Oh man.
I was just in the zone. And and I noticed I shouldn't say I noticed. To me, what it felt like is like, holy shit, like everyone's feeling me. Like I'm doing a great job. What it was is like people had really quickly, like halfway through, realized like I wasn't supposed to be the dude doing this. But like no one was stopping me either. So like the crowd were loving it. They were kind of moving up. The security's moving up also, because it's like, we're gonna fucking grab them the minute this is over. But more people are also pouring in, and maybe just because I was being also a little ridiculous. Yeah. my friends hear my voice like booming over this microphone, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? They come into the church and see me like up there running this marriage. They see these people down there.
Yeah.
They start snapping pics. So we actually have photos of the whole thing. And this couple, like afterwards, they're like, that was the best ceremony. Thank you so much. And they take their fucking wedding document over. They sign it. They have me sign it as a witness. And these people walk off married. I find my friends. I'm also being like pushed out by security the minute I sign that document.
Yeah.
Boom, I'm out of there. But yeah, then we go on to see fucking Rage Against the Machine and Daft Punk and Queens of the Stone Age and Muse.
Man.
It was just, after that, I was on cloud 9. I was also kind of like a mini celebrity around like the festival. Like people like, oh, dude, it's an acid priest. Dude. They didn't say acid priest, but like, oh, it's the boner priest, because the costume had a little thing where I could press it and like a boner would come up underneath my thing. So like, oh, it's the boner priest. It's the dude from the wedding, the boner priest. So yeah, that's my favorite concert story and experience, just because it's so outrageous. Like the whole fact that like, you know, it's Vegas. I guess they're used to weird shit, so they just let it fly, you know, for like this guy. Let's see how much stamina this dude has. And I don't think they realized I'd been listening to this dude for 2 hours. So it's like I had his, you know.
Yeah. You were ready to take over.
My entire life, yes. I was like, done. I'm gonna fucking just destroy this fucking scene with and I should also mention, one of the good parts about that story is the dude who got drunk and hallucinated. This is wild, but he wrote like it was during the brunch while he was really drunk. He wrote something in there called the Gospel According to Nation, and it was just basically gibberish about the trip, and you know, but it sounded actually kind of hot fire. So I read that as well as part of their wedding. I just wanted to mention that because I want to give a shout out to Nation. He wrote some hot fire in there, and that was probably my favorite part about like their wedding was this fucking the Gospel According to Nation.
Jeez, you have to try to get that made into a movie.
Yeah, it really should be. I don't know. It should be. Absolutely.
It sounds like either that or The Hangover Part 4.
Yeah, one of the two it needs to work as. Yeah. So just one of my favorite experiences. Just a great fucking night. The lineup alone could put it up there for one of the best concerts of all. You know, one of the best festivals. It's just outrageous. So yeah, it was just fantastic.
Yeah, the more guests I actually get to speak to on the show, the more I'm getting jealous of America, because we actually don't have big concerts like that over here. We'd have like a 2-day, maybe 3-day festival, but it's all pop music. There's never like a mix of artists, or, you know, we get a rock band and it's just them playing for one night, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's getting to be more and more drawbacks to living in the United States, and without concerts, you know, it's hard to. I think maybe those drawbacks are a little bit more obvious than some of the other nice amenities that come with living here.
Yeah,
but yeah, that is. I mean, my Facebook post today was I fucking miss concerts, you know, real bad. You know, it's like, God damn, I miss them.
Yeah, you really would.
So that was, you know, that's a best concert experience. Probably just the overall like experience, the lineup. It's hard to beat that one. I think we picked Testify from Rage Against the Machine for them. Also because, you know, one of the other shows that come to mind was a Lollapalooza show that Rage. It was a year that it was, the headliners were Rage, Radiohead, and 9 Inch Nails, which is another. I mean, just headliners. That's not the other 100 bands that played. It's a hard lineup to beat, you know.
It really is. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. So Rage Against the Machine, and those shows are so, you know, the Rage show in Chicago had to be stopped 5 times. The one in 2007 at Vegas, this was right after they played Coachella for the first time in years, and there were like people lighting trash on fire. It's we all got to the front row, which is another reason it's probably on the top of my list. Being front row at a Rage show is just like, I mean, it's probably the closest thing to like medieval war that you can imagine. You know, it's fucking wild. And I'm not going to pretend like I lasted very long. It was like maybe 3 songs and a half being pressed up against that bar before I was having security pull me over.
Yeah, I can imagine you'd nearly need a full suit of armor going in. Dude,
it's crazy. But, you know, I don't know if you've ever been to a show. The other thing that I've never been in a show where this happened, where the show right before they start, right, and Testify is the song they open up with in both cases, right?
Right.
You know, we started probably 40 rows back, right?
Okay.
But by the time the show starts, like the press is so strong that, we're like 10 rows back, then people start filing over the top so fast. But the thing that I wanted to point out that was just crazy about it was the body heat was so overwhelming that people were taking turns getting up on people's shoulders and pushing up above the crowd.
Just so they could breathe.
Yeah, because it was so heavy and warm. That was something that was wild. And for a second, it almost caused panic. I'm like, you can't breathe.
It really would.
Just wild fucking experience. So Rage Against the Machine, Testify. Fucking if this don't make you feel alive, I don't know what will.
Yeah, you definitely don't have a pulse if it doesn't make you at least move.
No. Rage. I mean, they're just one of the greatest bands, I think, and from content. Yeah, it's hard. They're a hard band. You're not always in the mood to listen to Rage Against the Machine. That's one thing.
That's
I'll
very
say
true.
that have a strike against them. You can't put them on at your 2-year-old's birthday party without some strange looks.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are places and times for Rage Against the Machine, for sure. Zach De La Rocha, I think, is one of the most underrated rappers, as far as if you're going to talk about people like to put things in their top 5. Zach De La Rocha, you don't ever hear, and I think he deserves some recognition there.
Yeah, he definitely does. We'll take a listen to Testify. So,
oh yeah, I've got a couple more favorite concerts too.
Oh, great! I'd love to hear them.
Oh, just one more, actually. I think I covered Rage twice. We had talked a little bit earlier about the idea that sometimes what makes a concert, like the best concert, is being able to see someone who gets bigger like early on in their career. And there's an artist, Grimes. I don't know if people are super familiar with her, but she became a little bit more mainstream because she had a baby with Elon Musk.
Right.
The like billionaire entrepreneur. So I saw her play at the Empty Bottle here in Chicago, which, now she'll play bigger shows like maybe the Metro or probably even something bigger. I imagine she could even play probably the United Center. But first of all, the Empty Bottle is my favorite venue in Chicago. If there's listeners, you make it to Chicago for any reason and you want to catch a show, go catch it at the Empty Bottle. A lot of history, small. It's like one of those places where you'll be really likely to just order a beer next to like the singer of the headlining bar or the headlining band.
Right.
It's just like one of those small places. The green room is really shitty, so a lot of the bands will hang out at the bar, watch the other bands play. Like I said, the history is awesome, and the sound. It's a small shitty dive bar, but the sound's not bad. So getting to see Grimes play there was really, really cool. And it was like one of those things where I kind of knew at the moment that what I was seeing, I was like, I think she's gonna get a little bigger. There's a lot of time. I'm trying to think of anyone like bigger than her that I saw really like as that early on. And if I saw them, it was probably like I was unaware of who they were at the time, So I can't really claim.
I getcha.
But it was like, I think she's got like this girl. There's something to her. I really, really enjoy her. So I was like, I was good about taking some video. Like, and funny enough, we just pulled one of my wife's laptops and we were cleaning it before we were going to recycle it, and I found the video from that show.
Cool.
And it's just, I'm like, holy fuck! Like, thank God that we did. I went and found this. It's just, to me, that's priceless. It
really is.
I talk about how much this this poster costs, and that's something you can take from a show and hold and have forever, right? But we knock people. At least I say we, like you and I do this, but I think a lot of people knock individuals for taking videos through concerts. You don't want to experience the whole thing through the phone.
No,
but take 30 seconds here and there is not going to hurt you.
Exactly. A little memento for yourself.
It's really worth it. Yeah. I mean, quick 15 seconds, put it away, and then enjoy the concert. Have it. But yeah. So Grimes, that was one of those experiences where I was just, it's just like a very fun thing. You felt like you're in on something. And so that was another one that was really high up there. And then the other one that I'll mention really fast, just, you're not gonna be able to get this guy on Spotify, but there's a DJ named Girl Talk who does mashups.
Okay.
And one of the most iconic, he does the most iconic venues here in the United States is a place called Red Rocks. It's in Colorado.
Okay.
And so it's just like, if you play Red Rocks, that's huge, right? That's like one of those things. A lot of artists, big artists, will say, "Oh, highlight of my career playing Red Rocks." Just that venue's awesome. So we saw Girl Talk there, and his shtick, his gimmick is he lets some of his fans come up on stage, and we had been up on stage for on a bunch of his shows. So we were on stage at Red Rocks, which is something a lot of big artists can't say, but just this nobody chubby dude from Chicago was on stage at Red Rocks. So that was another one that probably ranks really, really highly
I'm not
on my list of
surprised.
like concert experiences.
Sounds pretty cool. You really do have a lot of great experiences.
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm almost 40 now. I've been going to concerts since I'm 16, and probably since I was in my 20s, like concerts were that was my thing. That's what I want. If I was going to go out and go to a bar and drink, like, why not go to a bar and drink with live music?
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah. So it was like, and you live in a city like Chicago where there's so many venues.
Yeah. You've always something to choose from.
Sense. Yeah. It's not like there's slim pickings. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot better than some dude playing like 13 311 songs in a row in a jukebox, right?
Yeah. I completely get you.
Nothing against 311. I'm just saying that, sometimes that can happen. You're like, fucking again with the fucking 311. That's how bar fights happen. That's how people get stabbed. That's how people get shot. Yeah.
If I ever visit Chicago, I'll remember never to do that. So.
Well, if you ever visit Chicago, make sure to look me up. I'll set you up proper, and we'll make sure we get you to the right music venues. I mean, it's not hard to figure it out which ones they are, but yeah, it's nice to have a host or a guide.
It definitely is someone that knows their way around.
That's right. Yeah, at least knows how to get back in if you get kicked out.
Yeah. But we'll move on to the slightly more personal questions now. So which artist, living or dead, would you like to see in concert if you had the chance?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back. I talked about this artist earlier, and it was just being poor and growing up. Concerts weren't necessarily, and I don't know, maybe there's not a lot of seventh graders in general that are going to concerts. Maybe that's something that's changed because, I was 16 before I went, but Kurt Cobain, I was into Nirvana, huge. And I think that, I was kind of going back and forth with Tupac or Nirvana. And, we'll talk a little bit about Tupac later, but just, and this is nothing again. I love hip hop. I love it. So much more, a lot more than most people, but a lot of times it doesn't play as well live as like rock,
I completely understand that.
So for me, when it came down with the splitting hairs between, we have these two iconic artists for me who played such a huge role. They died both before I got a chance to go see them in concert. It push come to shove, I picked Nirvana because I thought sonically that might be the better experience.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'd pick them myself. Funny little side fact, the day that he actually died, he was due to play a concert in Dublin, in Ireland.
Really? Was it April 7th?
I think it was April 7th or 8th, is it?
April 5th, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that night he was due to play. Wild. There's still people around here that have the tickets, and they sell for a fortune on eBay.
I was going to say, that's one of those collectibles that
I'd actually love to have one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. When I went to Seattle, when I visited Seattle, the number one thing on my list of tourist things to do was to go. There's a little park right next to his house where he killed himself.
Yeah, and, with the bench.
That's become like where people go. Yep. So I went to the bench and did all that. Yep, sure did. Cool. So yeah, Nirvana. That'd be the one for me, 100%. This band. This was a period, like I said, like I was listening to mostly hip hop. Mostly hip hop, and Nirvana was the one band outside of maybe a few other exceptions that I was really playing on a regular basis, and not just not just Nevermind. I was listening to Bleach. The Unplugged album was right around then. So I was just like obsessed with them. I was, when I write notes in class, I would sign my notes the other blonde one, because that's how Kurt Cobain signed his notes. That's how obsessed I was. Yeah.
Jeez. So which song would you like to pick by the great Nirvana?
So I picked Drain You. Drain You is a song I picked. Again, a real hard one, but I just really enjoy this one. I think it's maybe not what most people would have a connotation of when they think of Nirvana, but I also think maybe this is one that plays better with the masses. If as a gateway drug into Nirvana, if you're not a huge Nirvana fan, you listen to this. It's a little more catchy, a little more poppy. Reminds me of like 1960s pop, surfer.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, it does. It's a great choice. We'll take a listen. So that's another great choice. I'm really digging your song choices on the episode tonight. There's some good ones.
I'm glad. I was looking at the songs that I picked, and I was like, again, it's not the most cohesive playlist, but I do think standalone, each song is really great on its own.
Yeah, they are. So this is a weird question now, but if you had to be locked in a room with any artist, again, living or dead, for 24 hours, who would it be?
So this is where I felt a little bit better about picking Nirvana earlier, because it allowed me to pick Tupac for this one.
Okay.
To me, he was just, I enjoyed, not only did I enjoy his music, but I just found him such a charismatic person. That was part of what drew me to him, like a real fucking poet. It was a mix of like poetry, and also he was, there's a lot of, hip hop artists that when you listen to the music and what they're saying, and then you look, the actions and the words don't necessarily line up. Maybe they're not as genuine, but he was one that seemed to really live what he preached. It was just a wild thing to be so connected to someone so different from me at that age, probably weird for my parents to watch. And what is this kid doing? But yeah, I mean, Tupac was the dude for me. I have a English teacher from freshman year my freshman year of high school that I'm now friends with. And he still remembers. He's like, dude, you remember every single thing you wrote was about Tupac. That was the year he died, 1996, 97. So he's like, everything you wrote was about Tupac. Do you still listen? That was the first time when we reconnected on Facebook. Do you still listen to Tupac? Like, not as much as I did back then, but yeah, I do. So I'd find him. I think he was a smarter dude than probably a lot of people give him credit for. And
he really was. You could really tell.
A bright light.
Yeah. Even over here when I was growing up, and rap wouldn't have been as mainstream or as big. Most people were either into pop or rock, but so I wouldn't have been exposed to many rappers. But I did know of Tupac, obviously, and he's one that I would have, I'd listen to, and I could actually appreciate how good he was.
Even my dad, who was not a big rap guy, he threw a Tupac tape of mine out the window while we were driving. And I was like, what'd you do? Like, I thought you liked Tupac. He's like, I do like Tupac. The problem is now when I close my eyes and I drift off to sleep, I hear Tupac in my head. Too much Tupac. And I was like, oh, okay. Word up. So yeah, no, Tupac's fucking great, man. If anyone needs again, we're talking about gateway drugs, as far as, Drain You is a good gateway drug into Nirvana. Tupac, great gateway drug into hip hop.
Yeah. So which Tupac song would you like to play?
I picked I Get Around. And again, this was like just, the Chronic was the first album I ever bought. The next album I remember buying was Tupac, Strictly.
Right.
And it was with my yaya, my grandma. She took me out for Christmas shopping, and she looked at the full title of the album, which is more explicit than I'm willing to go on and say. But my yaya is now passed. She was very special to me. That album, I think, is another one that's like, beginning to end. I wore it out. That's the one my dad threw out the window. As I Get Around has a bunch of other of his like bigger hits. Holler If You Hear Me is one of, I think, the most underrated Tupac songs. I was really close to picking it for this. But no, I ended up going with I Get Around. It was the song that for me started my infatuation with Tupac.
Oh, perfect.
And to this day, I can go word for word on the song.
Really?
Too. It's the one Tupac song. If someone was like, "I'm gonna put it on," you have to rap every single fucking word to it. It's the one I would do.
We'll
100%. Yeah.
we'll take a listen. So
Spin it, DJ.
right, so this brings us to the final question of the episode.
Yes.
If you could pick any song that would appear on the soundtrack to your life, which would it be?
And again, this is such a hard fucking question. I mean,
I'm hearing that
I
a
don't
lot.
think. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. You have to. Everyone's going to judge me by this one song. You start to let it creep into your mind, like some of the songs that I was considering. Modern Love by David Bowie.
Yeah.
I was considering what other songs was a Talking Head song, maybe Road to Nowhere or This Must Be the Place.
Yeah.
I eventually, and I thought I was like, what I should do is I should pick a song by my favorite band. My favorite band is Arcade Fire. I haven't talked about them quite yet. And then I was thinking, which Arcade Fire song do I pick? And I was going to try to work them in, like force them into another category just so I didn't have to pick just one Arcade Fire song.
Right.
But I think, push come to shove, this is one that I think I always have time for the song. I always have an appetite for the song. I don't necessarily have to be in the right place of mind, but it's the song Rebellion, otherwise known as Lies.
Right.
Just a great anthem. It's, to me, what Arcade Fire is about. A bunch of different instruments, weird stuff going on in the background, weird vocal stuff, tons of people on, it sounds like what it is, which is a bunch of people on stage doing weird stuff sometimes. So it's, to me, the song that I think for most people, again, a great gateway drug. If I was going to pick my favorite Arcade Fire song, I don't know if this would be it, but I think if I had to play one Arcade Fire song at a party to try to get other people to like that band, this might be it.
Right. Good choice. So we'll take a listen. Perfect choice for the final song of the interview, I must say.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And again, yeah, it's a good high energy, great harmonics. For me, it's I tend to not get drawn to maybe lyrics so much as like melody and harmony. So I do happen to know, I've listened and played this song before, so I know that I've had to learn the lyrics to it. So I actually do know what it's about. But a lot of the other ones, other songs on my list, you could be like, well, what is this song actually about? I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I could kind of sing it with the syllables. I could sing it with the right kind of syllable sounds, but not necessarily the right words.
Yeah, I getcha.
Yeah.
So I have to say it's definitely been one of my most interesting episodes to date. A lot of great stories in there.
I appreciate it, Brian. This has been a lot of fun. Not being able to go to live music and see it, it's fun to talk about it.
Exactly. That's what the show is all about, just reminiscing and bringing back them good memories.
I'll tell you what, though, that first concert I go to, I might not remember. I might just be so lubed up that I'm just black out again.
Yeah.
Go back to my 20s.
I think we all need to do that when we're finally allowed to go to concerts.
Yes, sir. Oh my God. And like I said, I don't even care what it is. I'll listen to anything. You can put anything in front of me. Chamber music, Creed, Nickelback, whatever. I'll listen
anything
to it.
As long as it's live.
Exactly. Oh God. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great moment when it happens. I'm genuinely really excited for that moment when you turn around, like every now and then you get caught up in a moment. You're just like, I just have to see you with the crowd. I have to experience like what they're seeing. I want to,
exactly.
And you're like, oh, this is awesome. And so yeah, that's going to be a really cool moment.
Oh, definitely.
Probably a lot of awkward hugs, a lot of long eye contact.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll be an awkward experience, but it'd be a happy trade-off if it means you'd get to be at a live gig.
All right. That sounds great.
So thanks a million for coming on. I've really enjoyed it.
Brian, the pleasure was all mine. I really we'll have to repay you and get you on New Dad or
no problem at all.
Eat God See Acid or TMC podcasts, whichever you prefer.
I'd be more than happy. Happy. Right.
Awesome.
Well,
I'll send you an email.
Perfect. This one should be out in 2 weeks' time.
Beautiful.
So
So then by then, everyone should be able to go find the TKOK Podcast Network. That's the Tom and Kate's OK Podcast Network. And
perfect.
like I said, we're starting launching a few shows. Pop Moms and New Dad will be the foundation pieces, the cornerstones of the network. But we're going to be announcing a lot of new shows and about a lot of different topics. So come check us out.
No problem. Right. Well, have a good day.
You too, my
And
man.
I'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, thanks for having me. And
No problem.
Stay safe, everybody.
Hey, what are you guys still doing here? The show is over. It's over. You can go home. Go on. We'll see you next time. We'll be here.